All right, welcome. If you're new to the channel, my name's Elliott and you're watching Rickety Ski Reviews. Today, we're gonna talk about carving. I've made a bunch of videos critiquing other people's videos, and you know what? It's time to just make my own video. So, carving basically consists of two main skills. One is being able to change the shape of your ski by flexing the front of your boot. That may sound simple, but it's not. It's a skill that you build over time, but that's the big one, is being able to flex your boot and change the shape of your ski. The second skill is being able to have good upper body, lower body separation in a way that allows you to break at the hip and give your legs room to carve. Those are the two main skills, but let's talk about it more. Now the first skill, if you look at the shape of your ski, it's got kind of an hourglass shape to it. It's wider at the tip, wider at the tail, and then narrower underfoot. That hourglass shape, when you flex your boot, flexes the ski as well. You're basically creating leverage and then changing the shape of your ski. That's why what the ski is made out of is so important when you watch ski reviews. You really want to be able to flex that ski. And how do you do that? Well, you've got these bindings holding you to the ski, and you do that by flexing the front of your boot. So what you want to do is flex your downhill ski and change its shape. That's the first skill that you really want to build out, and that's really key. Now, when you're carving, you're basically going to be doing 90% of your downhill ski, 10% of your uphill ski, but just for the purposes of learning, just focus on your downhill ski. Your downhill ski is really the thing that you care about right now, and really the thing you want to flex to get that carve going. I've often said that I think that carving is kind of a bad name for the skill. I think it should be more like ski bending or turning with bending. When you first learn how to ski, you're really learning to turn just by pivoting and turning the ski in the right direction. Basically, the way you learn it as a beginner is wherever this arrow or wherever the tip is pointing, that's the way you'll go. With carving, what you're gonna do is you're gonna kind of change that shape. So if you don't want to call it carving, if you want something that's a little bit more digestible, I would call it ski bend turning. Doesn't really roll off the tongue, but it's a good way to think about it. Let me show you what I mean. The next skill I want to talk to you about is breaking at the waist. Basically, this skill, you have two skills you're working on, so if you get sick of one, just go to the other, and that'll allow you to get mileage on each one. But the way you want to think about it is, in order for your downhill ski to kind of come around, you need your downhill leg to be really long, and you need to be able to kind of break at the waist, depending on how you're turning, and be able to kind of get your butt into the hill. The way that it's gonna feel on snow is like a pinching at the hip and kind of your butt pushing into the mountain. Now, like I said before, we're changing the shape of our ski, and that's how we want to initiate the turn. So I flex my boot and it puts pressure on my ski to change the shape. So if I want to go to the right, I'm going to pressure my left ski and my left boot to go that direction. If I want to go to the left, I'm going to pressure my right boot and go to the left, because it makes that ski my downhill ski, and that's kind of the proper platform. A lot of times in racing, they actually refer to your skis as like a right foot turn or a left foot turn, because ski racers don't have time to like translate that so much, so they just go, oh, there's a really big right foot turn through the course. If you've ever done whitewater kayaking, it's actually kind of weirdly similar, where you like kind of break at the hip the same way as whitewater kayaking, and then you also kind of put pressure on your like right knee to go left. If you find this to be a lot, just think, I want boot pressure, so on my right boot it's going to make my right foot my downhill ski, and it's going to bring me across the fall line. A lot of the videos I found online were very convoluted, so I'm going to keep this extremely basic, just kind of the bare bones fundamentals of how to carve. And then as you progress, figure out timing and mastery through doing these drills for lots and lots of runs. You build mastery through mileage. So now let me show you a quick example. And I'm just skiing with my poles in my hand because I've got to hold the GoPro. It's all kind of going to the left, so I'm mostly going to have pressure on my right foot and my right downhill ski. Turning is your friend. Turning is how you control your speed, control your turn shape. Let me give you a little demo of how I think about pressuring. So right now, I'm about to make a left-footed turn. So as I go down, I'm going to pressure this boot. The other thing that's really important for this skill is picking the right chairlift and picking the right trail. If you try to do these skills on a really advanced hill or somewhere with a lot of speed, one, it's almost impossible. You're gonna revert back to your basic instincts just for survival skiing. So when you're building new skills, pick a very moderate trail to practice this on, something that you feel really comfortable on, so you can just focus on the skill rather than focusing on getting down the hill safely. If you try to work on these skills on too steep of a pitch, people actually build bad habits because they're using their momentum to balance rather than good fundamentals. If you have a good stance, you're going to be able to balance even if you're skiing like on a flat trail. If you have a lot of momentum, you can actually kind of use your momentum to balance you out. You can use those G forces to help you with your bad stance rather than having a good stance and having a good balance. So that's two main reasons you want to go on a very moderately sloped hill. Now, if you go on a totally flat one, it can be a little bit hard to build momentum. It does work, but you know, if you're an intermediate skier, I would try to pick something like a blue square. This is also a great time to remind you, if you like this kind of content, consider liking and subscribing. It helps my channel out a lot, and you know, I'm not sponsored by anyone. I just do this for free because I find it interesting. So if you want to support the channel, that's a free way to do it. You can also become a member if you want one-on-one help or advice. In our tier 3 subscription, I will actually watch your skiing footage and give you critique once a month. So something to consider if that's something you like. But otherwise, I'm just happy to pass along this information for free. So enjoy the rest of the video. If you're not quite ready for full carving, or you just want to kind of play around with downhill ski pressure, the cat tracks is actually a really great place to do it. Just build a little bit of pressure and see how your skis kind of naturally will drift from one side of the cat track to the other. Pressure on my left foot, pressure on my right foot. When I say pressure, I mean flexing the front of my ski boot. Right boot, left boot. Right boot, left boot. For those of you on the East Coast, this is actually a really important skill because flexing your boot rather than stiveting and just changing the direction of your ski side to side is really important because it engages the edge. It's what allows you to cut through ice or firmer conditions. People on the West Coast, it allows you to kind of finesse through the softer snow. It is a great skill on either coast. So again, if you're working on carving, work on one skill at a time. Right now, all I'm thinking about is, okay, I'm in a neutral stance. I'm going kind of down the hill. If I want to go to the left, I'm going to flex my right boot. If I want to go to the right, I'm going to flex my left boot. The hardest part of this is actually, believe it or not, being patient. Wait for the ski to initiate the turn for itself rather than like getting impatient and just stiveting and going back to your old bad habit. If you have to go all the way across the hill to get the turn initiated and it's a safe place to do it, do it. Just wait for the turn to initiate on its own. Now watch me. I'm gonna be just initiating my right foot. Gonna wait, and it hooks and catches all the way across. And you can actually do a whole J-turn all the way around just to kind of feel that exaggerated turn. That was a carve. If you just did that alongside with me, you just carved your first turn. Now we'll work on the next foot and we'll get the timing down, but that is the skill. That catching and hooking, that's what you want to feel in order to carve. Also, if you're my age and you don't know how to carve, it's not your fault. A lot of the people that taught us learned on straight skis, so they just didn't have the skills or just recently learned them. It was hard for them to teach us. So take it easy on yourself, take it day by day, and you know, everybody's going through this. It's a skill that you master over time. It may seem obvious once you get it, but it's not. Most people didn't learn it. There's also, you know, I watched a lot of these other YouTube tutorials, and they're fine. Some people learn that way, but I like simplicity and I like having one skill that I can work on at a time because that's part of mastery. Okay, now that we've done our first turn, I'm going to show you what it looks like when you do both legs, when you kind of transition from your right boot pressure, then you go down the hill, and then you're going to do your left foot pressure. So we're going to practice doing both, and I'll give you kind of my perspective of it. Okay, so I have my hands in front, pressuring my right boot to go this way, left boot, hook across, all the way around, going across the hill, now my right foot. I start building it early, left, right, Now, if you have somebody in your life that also carves or knows more about skiing, maybe a parent or a friend, you probably hear them talk about the ski boots. The ski boots are the most important thing, yada yada. They're not joking. Ski boots are absolutely the most important piece of gear that you purchase. If you're somebody who's demoing, that's the first thing that I would buy long-term so that you get a consistent feel for the boots. They break in and mold to your foot. But the reason is because that's how you initiate the turn when you're carving. If you don't have a good fit, it's hard to flex the boot, and an improperly fitting boot won't allow you to transfer that energy from your shin and your legs, which are really strong, into the boot and into the ski to change its shape. So that's why boot fit, boot flex, all these things are super important because it dictates how you transfer energy to the ski. So think about that next time you're looking at boots. It's the #1 best place to put your money. From there, skis are important, everything else is kind of important, but really focus on the boots because that's what's gonna have a real impact on how you ski. And this, I hope this drill kind of illustrates why. The next thing is, if you're learning these skills, try to get as many days in a row as you can. I know that's not super practical, so just maybe think about it when you're not skiing. But really, if you get a stretch of days to ski in a row, that's a really effective way to learn, and then just go consistently to kind of build these skills as you go and really focus on one skill. Take a break, go on some fun run, but really try to go on these moderate trails so you can build these skills over time. And then once you get more comfortable, you can just start focusing on one of these skills in your free ski. There's a famous coach from the University of Colorado Boulder who called it the trial of miles when it comes to running, and it's the same thing with skiing. You're gonna build these skills the more mileage you get, but it also has to be very intentional skiing, thinking about what you're doing as you're doing it. It'll be a little awkward because of how I'm holding it, but let me show you what it looks like when I'm skiing from behind. So again, I am really focused on just flexing my boot and waiting for it to catch. And it can feel a little awkward, right? You're just going down the hill randomly I'm gonna hit something. You're not. Just be patient. I'm flexing my left boot. Now you're gonna feel silly coming that far across the hill, and that's not how you're normally going to ski, but right now you're just trying to understand the fundamentals of that skill. You are flexing that downhill foot and flexing the ski. That's why ski flex is so important. Have you ever seen somebody in a shop who look pretty experienced and they start flexing a ski like that? That's why. They're trying to get a feel for how the flex is going to transfer from the boot to the ski. We're going to combine this with our first skill, so you can consider this a part 2 of the video. Watch this later after you built out skill 1, or if you're tired of skill 1, start working on this. Skill 1 is way more important than skill 2, but this is still important. Just having your upper body out of your way, it allows your lower body to have room to kind of breathe and get those carves going. So these are called the slopey drill. What you're going to do is, as you're coming across the hill, you're going to take your downhill hand, you're going to put it on your hip, you're going to take your uphill hand, put it down the hill, and you are going to just push your hip into the hill. You can even do it just standing up, and feel how when you do this, you can feel your skis start to slide if they're pointing it all downhill. That's the point. Having that separation of upper body and lower body, having that break at the hips, allows you to have room to create a strong platform in your downhill ski. Because when you're carving, your downhill ski gets really long, your inside ski gets kind of short, and that's how you make that long arcing turn. Let me show you a little bit about what this drill looks like in action. And if you don't quite understand it the way I'm explaining it, because I'm the camera guy and the person skiing, there's plenty of videos out there as well. So I'm going this way, I'm gonna put my hand on my hip, and come across the hill. It's that feeling you're looking for on your own. But giving yourself that aid of your hand on your hip allows you to kind of force yourself into the feeling of breaking at the waist. Do it again. I'm going to go this way, push my hip into the hill. You have have to have a basic understanding of that downhill ski in order for it to work, but it's a good way to build the skill. Lastly, if you know somebody who understands this skill, ask them. Be like, hey, would you mind taking a run with me and just seeing if I'm understanding the skill right? You may not want them to pick and prod at your form, or you may feel self-conscious, but honestly, if you just tell people, hey, I'm trying to learn the skill, most people will step in and be like, yeah, let me show you. Or even strangers, if they know how to carve, they may say, hey, yeah, here's what it feels like for me, or here's how I think about it. That kind of made it click for me. But mostly don't give up. This is a skill that takes a long time to develop. It takes a lot of focus, and it also takes a lot of mileage. It took me months worth of training to just kind of figure out the basics, especially back in the early 2000s when a lot of people learned on straight skis. So the people who were instructors or coaches, they weren't very good at describing it back then. So take your time, be patient with yourself, and more than anything, just enjoy being up here, getting the fresh air, and enjoying skiing. This is a lifetime sport, so you have plenty of time to learn this stuff. There's no rush, you're not going to become Ted Liggy overnight, but you can learn a fun skill along the way. And if this video doesn't help you, there are plenty of other YouTube videos out there. They're just very granular and very specific, and I like talking about things in a very basic, fundamental way, so you can focus on one thing at a time. Yeah, just enjoy the process. Learning new skills can be fun if you're patient with yourself. And if you didn't understand any of the terminology I was using, I will link down below. I have a full video just breaking down what I'm talking about, the fundamental breakdown of what each kind of vocab word means. But more than anything, just thanks for taking the time to watch these kind of videos. I really appreciate you being here. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.